continuing and quitting volunteering. In the first part of our presentation, I will talk about my research project, and in the second part, Eva will share experiences, practical experiences of the Labrador Guide Dog Foundation. So let me start by giving you a quick overview. Okay? A quick overview of my research. So this study focused on the process of training and living with guide dogs for visually impaired people. The research took place from 2021 to 2024. I used a combination of qualitative methods. I conducted 112 in-depth interviews with NGO members, trainers, volunteers, and of course guide dog handlers. I also spent around 700 hours observing different aspects of guide dog training, as well as regular walking routes of handlers. And part of the study focused on the perspective of puppy raisers. I conducted 34 interviews with 28 individuals who had experience raising puppies for guide dog schools. And at the time of our meetings, 19 of them were either current or former puppy raisers with at least 10 months of hands-on experience. 7 participants were guide dog instructor trainees, 1 person was GDMI, and 1 person worked as a trainer for puppy raisers. In addition, I conducted 6 interviews with other members of those organizations, including coordinators of volunteering. I also spent around 80 hours observing meetings and various training sessions of puppy raisers. So during the project, I collaborated with 3 NGOs from Poland, of course the Labrador Guide Dog Foundation, but also Wismajor Foundation and Guide Dog Foundation. And I also worked with 2 NGOs from Slovakia, Psi na Život, Dogs for Life, Katka, thanks for your support, it was great to meet you, and Training School for Guide and Assistance Dogs. However, in this presentation, I will not be referring to specific organizations. My goal is to present a general overview of different motivations and strategies of both volunteers and smaller guide dog schools. Smaller guide dog schools, keep it in mind, because that's the context. So let's look at some of key features of those organizations. They are relatively small, with teams ranging from 4 to 8 people, including GDMIs and CEO. It's like, 8, it's wow. They manage to train and place between 3 and 14 guide dogs per year, depending on current needs and resources. Another important word, resources. Small organizations, small resources. When it comes to employment, full-time staff members are rare. Most people working in this field do so part-time or alongside their other regular professional roles. As I said, the purpose of the presentation is to take a closer look at what motivates volunteers, especially at 3 critical points of their career. The decision to start volunteering, the decision to continue volunteering, which for me means taking another puppy, and the decision to take a break or stop volunteering. So interviews showed the most common reasons why people decide to start volunteering. Very often, it starts with a desire to have a dog, but without a long-term commitment of pet ownership. For many of them, it was a trial experience, especially for couples or families who wanted to try whether a dog fits into their lifestyle. Another frequent motivation was the opportunity to learn and develop dog training skills, which was particularly common among more experienced dog handlers. So 3 main motivations: a trial, desire, dream of having a dog, and gaining experience. For several people, and it was very interesting for me, several means like 6, the main motivation was personal or professional crisis. They were looking for a meaningful activity to regain this sense of meaning, of purpose, meaning of life, meaning of my value as human being. Others were motivated by a desire to help beyond their family or friend circle, and for some participants it was also about helping people with disabilities in general, not necessarily focusing on blind individuals. One of the key aspects of my research was understanding why some volunteers decide to continue puppy raising. Out of the 34 people I interviewed, 59% choose to raise a second puppy, and nearly a third continued beyond that, raising more than 2. Volunteers who decided to continue puppy raising often mentioned a few key motivations. First, all interviewees highlighted the joy and satisfaction of daily life with a dog, especially seeing progress in training. Many also appreciated the unique experience of being with a dog at all times, including in spaces where regular pets aren't allowed. For some, continuing meant taking on a new challenge, gaining more experience, more knowledge. And a few saw it as a step toward a future career as an assistant or, in particular, guide dog trainer. For some volunteers, training sessions with the dog offered a refreshing break from the work or daily routine, and the dog acted also as a motivation to stay active, encouraging movement and outdoor time. That was like one of the main motivations for maybe few people, like in the background more. For some volunteers, the decision to take another puppy was not entirely planned. It was spontaneous and emotional. They described feeling a deep sense of loss and emptiness after saying goodbye to their first puppy. In these cases, taking another dog became a way to cope with those emotions. Many long-term volunteers pointed out the comprehensive support provided by the organization. They appreciated the professional training and veterinary care. They also, and that's very important from my perspective, they also highlighted the importance of temporary care for puppies because this option was presented as a clear advantage of puppy raising over owning a dog. Long-term volunteers frequently mentioned the importance of a good and friendly atmosphere. That's the great example is, sorry for giving examples, but Psy na Żywot, they are so friendly and they are like a group of friends, and that's the main of motivation. Let's do something together. They also valued the understanding and emotional support provided by trainers, especially trainers. Another important aspect was the sense of being a partner rather than just a task performer. Volunteers appreciated feeling seen and involved by the organization. For some volunteers, direct meetings with guide dog handlers reinforced the motivation to continue. Seeing the former puppy working as guide dog made the role feel more tangible. Some volunteers found inspiration simply by observing other teams in action, which helped them see the bigger picture of the entire process. While many volunteers choose to continue puppy raising, more than half of the participants decided to stop or take a break from this role. However, nearly half of them chose to stay involved as dog sitters. The most common reasons for such decision were the challenges and demands of daily care and training. For some first-time raisers, the time and effort required came as a surprise. They hadn't just expected how demanding the role would be. Many struggled to balance puppy raising with their personal or professional commitments, and the feeling of being overwhelmed was particularly common among those who were raising a puppy alone. As I mentioned earlier, for many volunteers, puppy raising was a way to test whether a dog fits into my lifestyle. It's like, wow, we can borrow this puppy for a year and try it. For those who failed this test, it often led to ending their career as volunteers, as they realized that having a dog didn't match their lifestyle, or that their family wasn't fully engaged in daily care, even if they promised they would be. On the other hand, for couples and families who passed this test, it became a motivation to get their own dog. As a result, many of them decided to stop puppy raising and focus on their new pet instead. For some volunteers, external life changes made it difficult or even impossible to continue puppy raising. Even those who found fulfillment and joy in volunteering sometimes had to stop due to personal reasons. Challenges related to family, health, and work commitments were among the most common factors leading to such decision. For some volunteers, their decision to leave was influenced partly by issues within the organization. One of the most common reasons was difficult or conflictual relationships, usually with specific members or member of the organization. Volunteers pointed to poor communication and organizational chaos, which made it difficult to understand their role, duties, tasks, but also led to frustration as a result. Finally, organizations' lack of appreciation made volunteers feel like a resource rather than valued contributors. As we can see, volunteer motivations tend to shift over time. With the first puppy, the focus is often on personal experience, doing something enjoyable for oneself, myself, or as a family project. Only three from 34 participants started with the primary goal of helping blind individuals. By the second puppy, this perspective expands. Volunteers start to see their work benefiting both themselves and others, including not only blind people, but also the organization or members of those organizations. When it comes to resignation, different factors come into play: personal, external, organizational. The most common pattern is that volunteers who raise their first puppy alone or without promised family support are the most likely to step away afterwards. And now a few words about the organization's approaches to puppy raising. So NGOs I worked with have different strategies for recruiting volunteering. One approach is targeting people with no prior dog experience. The advantage is that for some trainers, it's easier to train puppy raisers from scratch. Of course, some of them, the disadvantage is that some of them struggle with consistency and find it difficult to adapt to structured professional training. Another strategy involves recruiting experienced dog handlers, and of course this saves trainers time and effort, especially at the beginning of the collaboration. However, they often bring training habits from other disciplines like dog sports, agility, which may conflict with organizations' methods. Organizations use different strategies to retain volunteers. Some have no formal strategy, assuming that volunteering is based on goodwill and cannot be controlled. This reduces the pressure, of course, but also means volunteer motivation aren't actively managed. Another approach is investing in aspiring dog trainers. It helps build a strong trainer community, but the challenge is that there isn't always enough work for them when there are fewer dogs in training. And that's, when you have 3 dogs and 10 people, that's obvious. Finally, some NGOs engage volunteers in additional events. This strengthens their bond with the organization, but also comes with the risk of overloading them with new tasks, additional tasks. Even if it's fun, it's like another task. Organizations approach volunteer-client relationship in different ways. Some limit or prevent direct contact, arguing that it may be harmful for the dog and their future bond with the handler. Others allow for optional contact, such as during certification day. And finally, some organizations focus on more educational experiences to help volunteers better understand a daily life of blind people. So they are, for example, meetings with blind individuals who are not guide dog handlers, or even clients. And organizations use different strategies to evaluate volunteer needs. Some assume that volunteers will not openly share their honest opinions, which limits efforts to collect feedback. Others rely on informal feedback during training sessions without a structured process, and a more systematic approach is conducting formal evaluations, such as anonymous surveys. And now we are here, so that's the end and time for some recommendations. So based on research I presented, volunteer retention can be strengthened in several ways. Remember, in small organizations with limited resources, and also resources like GDMI's volunteer trainers. So first, raising awareness about blind individuals can help volunteers to see their role in a new light, in a new way, and boost their motivation. Importantly, adding the motivation of supporting blind individuals doesn't mean giving up the joy of being and working with a dog. It simply adds more meaning, more purpose to the work. Another effective strategy might be emphasizing the value of being and working with different dogs without the need for a long-term commitment. Finally, staying in touch with former volunteers is crucial. Some of them who take a break due to personal reasons may later return when the life circumstances allow for this type of activity. So thanks for your attention, and now I will hand over to Eva.
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to present on topic strategies for volunteer retention, insights from the Labrador Guide Dog Foundation. During this presentation, I will speak about the strategies we have implemented to maintain volunteer engagement, inspired by Kamil's research results. I will share insight how we build a sense of community and commitment among our volunteers, which is important to success of our mission. And the photo shows an outdoor obedience training with 4 volunteers and their Labradors, each puppy wearing a red vest, sits attentively and looking at its handler. In 2003, the Labrador Guide Dog Foundation was the first in Poland to adopt internationally successful model of volunteer puppy raising. Our program involved local recruitment. We are looking for volunteers from the surrounding area for easy access and support. Another important thing was regular support. Our GDMIs provided ongoing assistance via individual and group meetings 2 or 3 times per month. And last but not least was communication. GDMI handled day-to-day communication in every aspect involved with the dogs, and the foundation board managed the formal matters. Despite the program's popularity and positive community response, we experienced persistent high turnover. About 80% of our volunteers ended their participation after raising a single puppy. On the photo there is here. Here on the photo there is a Labrador wearing a red vest, stands calmly at his handler side on the stairs. And the volunteer high turnover had a significant impact on our small organization. Unlike a larger organization, we didn't have a dedicated staff for volunteer management. As a small organization relying on our 4 GDMIs, the time-consuming process of recruiting and training new volunteers from scratch had a direct impact on their available time. The frequent changes in our volunteer team affects to the team stability, makes it impossible to create a stable team of puppy raisers. Kamil's research was instrumental in answering the question, why do volunteer puppy raisers choose not to continue their involvement in our foundation? We carefully analyzed his findings, focusing especially on two critical aspects, motivational factors and dissatisfier. The motivation, what really attracts volunteers to our program and what keeps them engaged. And dissatisfiers, the specific factors that lead volunteers to frustration and decision to leaving our program. On the photo, there is a training session on the train platform. Men encourage young Labrador with the treat to come closer to the train, and the train is in the background. Similarly to Kamil's research, we find out that the primary motivator for our volunteers is the dog itself. Remarkable 99% of our volunteers identify this as the main reason for joining our program. However, this powerful emotional connection also presented a significant obstacle to the retention. Volunteers consistently reported excessive workloads and communication issues such as unresponsive GDMIs and inconsistent information about training schedules, which led to frustration and a sense of disconnect. Finally, many volunteers didn't feel like valued members of our team. And on the photo there is a woman crouching down in a grassy park, offering a treat to a black Labrador Retriever puppy. To address the strong emotional attachment to the dogs, we implemented a strategy to redirect the volunteers' focus. Instead of emphasizing the relationship with the dog, we highlighted the positive impact on the life of visually impaired individuals. To achieve our goal, we proposed the following initiatives. The first initiative was Meet the Recipient. We facilitated meeting between volunteers and the recipients of their dogs, showcasing the direct results of their efforts. Another was empathy building. To foster empathy and understanding, we organized activities, simulated some of the challenges faced by the people with impairments. This included blindfolded walks, both with or without the guide dog, for deepening the understanding the dog's crucial role. For easing the transition, we encourage volunteers to continue their valuable work by raising another puppy. And the photo shows a visually impaired client, the dog trainer, and two puppy raiser with a guide dog posed together in the backyard. To address the issue of overwhelming responsibilities, we implemented several improvements. First, we introduced the detailed initial meeting program to ensure volunteers fully understand the type of commitment and the responsibilities involved in raising a puppy. Second, we developed a database of weekend volunteers to provide support and temporary assistance for regular volunteers during vacation, unforeseen circumstances, or emergencies. This ensures consistent puppy care and allowing primary volunteers to have time off. Third, we appointed a dedicated puppy rises coordinator to provide comprehensive support, including managing communication, handling administrative tasks, and also providing emotional support. This saves valuable time of our GDMIs. The photo shows a happy young Labrador sits in the foreground, and three smiling people, a woman, man, and a girl, stands behind the dog in a sunny outdoor area with a building visible in the background. Inefficient communication was identified as one of the major obstacles to volunteer satisfaction. And to address this, we implemented a new communication channel. We introduced the dedicated WhatsApp group, provided a centralized communication platform, connecting volunteers, trainers, and the board. Advanced planning. Announcing training dates 1 month in advance allowed volunteers to plan effectively and reduce last-minute schedule conflicts. And the feedback mechanism, annual anonymous annual anonymous surveys provide valuable insights on our volunteer satisfaction, needs and concerns. And on the photo, there is a dog trainer explains exercise to volunteers. Both are crouching beside the Labrador lying on the pavement outside. In our effort to build a strong team of volunteers, we prioritize cooperation and integration among them. We encourage volunteers to connect with one another and share their experience. Organizing joint outings and events for our volunteers not only strengthens their relationships, but also deepens the connection with the foundation. Inviting volunteers to meetings and events related to the foundation reinforce their identity as integral members of our organization. We also recognize the importance of appreciating our volunteers. We make it as a priority to regularly express our gratitude for their hard work, both through personal acknowledgement and in social media platforms. Through these initiatives, we aim to create a supportive environment where volunteers feel valued and motivated. The photo shows a group of volunteers, some in costumes, and their dog posing in the front of a large oval figure. We have observed a positive impact from the solution we implemented over the last 2 years. The percentage of new volunteers who take another dog has significantly increased from 20 to 40%. We have seen a notable increase in the willingness of new volunteers to support the program of weekend volunteers, which participation rising from 20 to 60%. More volunteers also expressing the readiness to take another dog in the future. Several of our most dedicated volunteers have shown interest in pursuing training to become guide dog trainers. This commitment highlights their personal growth and underscores the success of the program in encouraging them to develop the skills. And the photo shows a group of smiling people walking together in a city sidewalk. One teenager is handing on a leash a young Labrador. Future plans. As we look ahead, our focus will remain on the maintaining the success of our program. To achieve this, we will be conducting following activities. First, we will conduct ongoing evaluation of the changes we have implemented. By regularly assessing the effectiveness of our strategy, we will be able to identify areas for improvement. In addition to evaluation, we will implement regular surveys to gather feedback from our volunteers. These surveys will allow us to respond flexibly to the needs of our volunteers, ensuring that the program evolves in a way which is meaningful for us. We also plan to launch a mentorship program that will involve experienced volunteers to mentoring and training for the new recruits. By fostering relationship between seasoned volunteers and newcomers, we aim to enhance the onboarding experience, share valuable knowledge, and building a stronger sense of community among our volunteers. On the end, I would like to say that we believe that by actively listening to our volunteers and investing in their development, we can maintain their long-term commitments. So, thank you for your attention.